This week, we could see President Trump sign a bill that would roll back rules designed to protect your privacy on the internet. Congressional Republicans voted to undo the rules last week. The bill now heads to the president's desk. The rules protect things like your web browsing history, geolocation, financial information, health data, children's information, even app usage. Listen to what one Democratic congressman who voted against this rollback had to say about it on the House floor last week.
Why would you want to give out any of your personal information to a faceless corporation for the sole purpose of them selling it?
Republican Representative Marsha Blackburn is joining us now from Nashville. Thank you so much for being with us. You just heard your Democratic colleague. Can you answer that question?
Absolutely, I can. And Anna, I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you about it. The action that we took last week with the Privacy CRA did not do anything to change any of the existing law there is with privacy. The privacy protections that were in place last year, last month, last week, today, tomorrow, they're going to be there. And what this did was to push back and keep from being implemented to one rule that had been approved. And
now
it had to do...
Correct me if I'm wrong. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but just to make sure that our viewers are very clear, as I understand it, that rule essentially said internet service providers initially would have to ask consumers or those who are using the internet if it were okay for them to essentially send our internet habits on and sell those internet habits to those highest bidders.
And it applied to the internet service providers. That's exactly right. And that is your Verizon or AT&T or Comcast or Charter, whomever you get your internet service from. What it did not do was have anything to do with your Googles or Facebooks or what are called edge providers. And those are the ones that with your browsing history, you know, when you log on to the internet, Anna, you don't have pop-ups come up. That is when you hit Facebook or your web browser or something that comes up. What we want to do is to strengthen consumer protections and make certain that consumers have the toolbox that is necessary for them to protect themselves in the virtual space. And we will get right back at this. We've tried to pass legislation for the past couple of years dealing with data security and privacy, and we hope that our friends across the aisle will join us in doing that and strengthening these protections. But here's the backstory on it.
How does this strengthen the protections, though, if the internet service providers don't need to ask your permission anymore to sell your information?
No, that's not it. You don't need two regulators. See, the ISPs, with what is covered there, with the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission, the traditional regulator of our privacy, both in the physical space and the virtual space, has been the Federal Trade Commission. And that is where that responsibility should lie. And they're the ones who should have the jurisdiction. When you have two different agencies doing a job and you get confusion, what you end up with is lack of clarity and consumers are going to have less protection. Do we want to make certain that they're going to be protected? Absolutely. Do we want to see more companies and providers use an opt-in instead of an opt-out system? Absolutely. I'm an enormous proponent of that.
Okay.
We want individuals to be safe online. What we do not need is two regulators that are going after the same thing. So let's get started on it.
I'm hearing you say there was a redundancy in the system, so you're trying to kind of streamline the system. Now, some of the critics of this action, some of the critics of the action that was taken by Republicans, yourself included this week, have pointed out that the telecom industry has made generous donations to your campaign over the years. How much have telecom companies donated to your campaigns?
I don't know how much telecom companies have donated, but the thing is, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is doing the right thing for my constituents and for the American people, and making certain that they have the ability to protect themselves and that they know they own their information online, that they are in charge of their information. And I refer to it, Anna, as their virtual you. And we want individuals to have control over that information, and we want them to know who does own that information, who does have access to that information. And it always, whether it's financial information, health information, the individual needs to be the person that controls it and owns that information. That is my goal, and I think that's the goal of most individuals.
So the Center for Responsive Politics, which is a self-proclaimed nonpartisan independent research group who tracks money in politics, says you've received close to $546,000 from the telecom industry over the course of your career. It seems like a lot of money, but are you saying that that had no influence on your vote?
No, my work has centered around protecting privacy, and Congressman Peter Welch out of Vermont and I spent 2 years chairing the privacy working group in Congress and working on legislation. Like I said, we would love for the Democrats to join us and push it forward.
Why didn't any Democrats join you on this legislation if it is, as you said, simply to streamline?
Well, and we were disappointed that they didn't, because last May you had a group of Democrats that wrote then Chairman Wheeler at the FCC and opposed their moving forward with this specific rule that we took back down so that we could keep it from being implemented and have a clean slate to start working from. So you're right, you know, they had opposed it, and then they came out to oppose recalling the rule, and so we would have loved for them to have joined us, and we would really like for them now to be working with us so that consumers have all the protections that are necessary in that virtual space. And we will work through this issue. We are hopeful that we'll be able to move back these net neutrality rules and the reclassification of the internet service from an information service. The last FCC had retitled it as a Title II service. We would like to see that rescinded, and what we want to do is make certain that the Federal Trade Commission, who has the historical knowledge, the expertise, the administrative oversight and consistency for handling privacy, as I said, both in the physical space and the online space, that they continue to have the legislative authority and the statutes in place and are able to punish those that abuse an individual's personal identifying information in the virtual space.
Okay, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for coming on.
Good to be with you. I'm cheering for my Mississippi State women to win this ball game tonight, Anna.
Go Underdogs. They've definitely already
You've
been
got it.
making
They
waves.
may be the underdog,
That's
but
exciting.
I think they're going to win.
Good luck to them.
Thanks.
And again, thanks for joining us.